Hey, what's up, Relationship School geeks and freaks? I'm your host, Jason Gaddis, and this podcast is about love. It's about connection, and it's about connection as food to fuel you on your journey called life. Thanks for your reviews, your comments on social, your likes and shares of our podcast, sharing it with a friend, that special loved one of yours. Yeah, thank you. All right. In the last couple episodes with this relationship coaching series, we're trying to get educated here about relationship coaching. So we talked about bad relationship coaching. We talked about good relationship coaching. And now we're going to talk to some relationship coaches who just graduated from our level 1 training. These are brand new relationship coaches. So I thought it would be interesting to talk to people who are brand new into the field after having gone through a very intense training. In this episode, you're going to hear some really vulnerable shares from them and stories about how they even became a coach, because some of you are considering becoming a relationship coach, or some of you are therapists, or some of you are, you've been seeing a therapist or a coach, and this might have you wonder about your practitioner, and it might inspire you. Either way, I think it's going to, because these are real human beings who are just lovely, beautiful characters that care so much about you and the world and love and connection. And I think you're going to get that just by listening. All right. All right. Remember, we are doing a free interest call if you want to become a relationship coach. And this is happening, let me check my calendar, June 18th. June 18th at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Mountain Time. We live in Colorado. Mountain Time. 12 p.m. I'm going to be answering your questions. It's a very informal call. It's going to be a smaller webinar. I'm going to share a few things. If you're a practitioner, if you're already a coach and you want to learn a couple of tips, you're going to learn a couple of tips. And the vast majority of the call is going to be answering questions about our coaching program. So that's what that web class will be about. But if you're not interested in becoming a relationship coach, you already are one, or you're a therapist, or you're a healer of some kind, I imagine you're going to get a lot of value just by 10 minutes or 15 minutes of this class. Because I can assure you what we're doing here is unlike anything any other program is doing by way of training people to become relationship coaches, which really, my term behind the scenes is we are cultural evolutionists. We're evolving culture, okay? Because we care so much about the human condition and people's relationship lives, we want to evolve culture. I want to evolve culture. I'm a cultural evolutionist. That's who I am. Okay, borrowing that term from Dan Siegel, one of my favorite mentors. And I feel excited to have other people who want to evolve culture join me in a formal way, in a training style way. Okay. So come hang out with us. Go to relationshipschool.com/yourfuture. That's right. relationshipschool.com/yourfuture. And you can register to sign up. All right. Okay. I'll remind you at the end of the call, and I'll offer an action step. And I think you're going to like it. Okay. In this episode, we have Leah, Steve, and Bryce, all who have been on a really incredible journey in their own life, and then with me for this chapter of their life. Leah lives on the East Coast. She's been to several programs of ours. She just cares so much, and she's got an extremely good eye for people's bullshit. And I imagine Leah's partner could attest to that. I certainly can. And then we've got Bryce, a fellow Salt Lake Cityer, because that's where I'm from originally. Bryce and I share some similarities. He's done wilderness therapy work. Him and his wife have cool programs. And Bryce just came to one of our programs and was like, okay, I'm in. And he was like, not, I didn't say this to Bryce on the call, but Bryce was a little cautious and maybe a little defended. Bryce, you might agree there. I don't know. feel free to push back. And something opened up for you, man. And here you are. And then Steve has been on really a big hero's journey. This guy used to be in the Marines. He's lived a pretty intense life. And he joined us. He was one of the founders of the relationship school. And because his marriage was falling apart at the time, it was hard for him to hold everything that he was holding, including 2 children and a job and everything else. Some of you could probably relate. So Steve will get into that story, but man, Steve came back swinging here to finish the RC1 course and get certified because he completed it before but didn't get certified. So man, these 3 really inspire me, and it's been a really treat to just have this conversation. It's really a conversation, and I'm asking them a few important questions so that you can understand relationship coaching a little better from our vantage point. Okay? Let's get into it. All right, welcome to the show, Leah, Bryce, and Steve.
Good to be here. Thanks, Jason.
Leah, I couldn't hear you.
Thanks, Jason.
There we go. Not that you need to say thanks, I just couldn't hear you. Welcome, everyone. And you all are graduates of our Level 1 relationship coaching program. And I wanted to have you on the podcast here. We've been talking about bad coaching, bad relationship coaching, and good relationship coaching. And now we're going to hear from some actual real human beings that are now relationship coaches and how they made the journey to become a relationship coach and like why this matters to you and all that stuff. So before we start, though, I'd love to just, for the listener, just introduce yourselves. Like, who are you? What are you doing in your life? And then we'll get into kind of how you came into this program, but just a short couple of sentences on your, like a very short bio. Yeah. Anyone want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I'm Bryce. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. I grew up in the South, recently married, and I love to be outside, play basketball, travel, and mountain bike.
Nice. Thanks, Bryce.
Cool, I'll jump in. My name's Leah. I live in Vermont. I'm divorced. I have 2 teenagers, and I'm in a relationship with a man 4 years now, so repartnered. I also love mountain biking. I work in my family's business. I'm involved in corporate management. I teach fitness. Yeah, that's me.
Great. Thanks, Leah.
I'm Steve. I'm here in Chicago, divorced, single parenting 2 kids. My daughter Cece's 8 and my son Elliot is 5. Yeah, I made a transition out of being in advertising to pursue relationship coaching. So it's kind of the big thing that I'm up to.
Awesome. Wow, cool. So we want to dig into each of you and kind of how you got here. So why don't we do that next, just by way of continuing to orient the listener. So in no particular order here, how did you, and now you're also all relationship coaches. You're officially Level 1 certified relationship coaches. We'll give out your info here at the end in case someone wants to hire you to help them through their relationship challenges. But before, let's hear a little more about your journey. How did each of you become a relationship coach? Like, give us the story of like what was going on in your life and why this path?
Yeah, I'll jump in. It was kind of an accident. So my wife had been listening to your podcast, Jason, for quite a while, and she invited me to an Embracing Conflict weekend a couple Januaries ago. And I was already a coach myself, just a general life coach. And I didn't really think I needed to go, but I went anyways and met you and met all these people in the school. And I was just totally stoked on the whole idea of doing relationship coaching. So I kind of eased into it. And then when the opportunity came up to enroll in the course, I was like, I got to do this. I mean, I realized there's so many pieces that were missing. I realized how it would benefit not only my relationship, but my business. So yeah, that's how I jumped in.
Yeah. Awesome. And Bryce, what was going on prior in your life? Like, why did you orient into relationships when you could have done business coaching or like health coaching, like why relationships for you?
Yeah. Well, first off, my wife's a marriage and family therapist, so she already had a huge interest in it. And I had struggled in relationships, and we were just about to get married when we went to the Embracing Conflict weekend. And I realized really quickly that there was so much that I didn't know, that I really sucked at relationships. So part of it was like, I really wanted to prepare myself for marriage and the future ahead. And then I thought, why not? Like, it's going to help my coaching practice. And it totally has.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, that's helpful. I mean, I can relate, as you know, about the not quite getting it around the relationship stuff.
Yeah, I thought I got it, but I didn't.
Yeah. And you also worked in some treatment programs, didn't you? Or with addictions or something prior to this?
Yeah, I worked for wilderness therapy programs, working with specifically young men 18 to 30. So I did that for about 6 years before doing coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in my 20s, it was kind of, I didn't know, I had no idea I'd become a relationship coach or a therapist someday. But in my 20s, I was working with adolescents in the field in wilderness. We've talked about this. And I kept hitting the ceiling of how my skills would only go so far in helping them. They kept, there'd be a kid in tears around the fire, or a kid that was like threatening to hurt himself or whatever was going on. And I had no idea what to do. And I was like, shit. And often the supervisors weren't there, right? It was like on me to figure it out. And enough times of feeling really inadequate there was one of the motivations to study psychology, to like, go, okay, I got to get more training here. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. How about you other folks, Leah or Steve?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So I was drawn to your work as a middle-aged single mom of 2 coming back on the dating scene, and had this marriage that ended after 10 years. And then I was in another relationship right after that. Then that ended. And I was like, fuck, what's going on here? Like, I don't want to keep doing this. So I met this guy on the dating scene, and he was a good fit. We were going to try it out. And I wanted to kind of get some skills here. Like I thought, oh, I can't do this again. I've got these kids. I've got this life. Like, I don't want to do another breakup. That was my initial motivation. So I was attracted to your work because I think it was the first time that I'd heard someone normalize this fantasy that I'd had about, it's supposed to be great all the time, or happy endings, or, it was just, I felt like when your voice was saying like, it's normal, there's nothing wrong with you. This is a sham. It was like, oh my gosh, wow. So that's how I was first drawn to your work, just like this busting the myths kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here I am in this new relationship with this guy. I've got this ex-husband, his wife. I work for my family. I mean, relationships are everywhere for me, like high stakes relationships. I like to call them. And so I joined deeper. I didn't do it the first round. I was a little scared. So the second time you called for class, I was like, I'm going to do it. And I joined. And I would say I'm a reluctant relationship coach. That 9-month journey through the deeper course just cracked me open. And when it was done, like, I could not imagine, first of all, not continuing to study whatever you're putting out. And then like how it was helping me in all these relationships that I was already in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say least of which is my partner, Peter, but that's the truth. It's like, I came to figure that out, but I stayed because every single relationship I'm in changed.
Wow. Yeah. And you talked about, I remember you saying numerous times about how your relationships with your kids changed. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, totally. I would say primarily it's like, first of all, teaching them some basic communication skills, and then how I show up differently with them. So I listen to them differently. I speak to them differently. I have myself more, like I'm not always reacting super emotionally. I'm more grounded in myself. And I take more responsibility for expectations that I have about them, which I think really lightens things up for them. And I own what's mine.
Right. They have room to be themselves more.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Which they probably feel more accepted, right, by you now.
For sure. And they come to me with their relationship stuff. So they're 13 and 16, and they both are in these dating relationships, long-term, both of them for their ages. And they actually, they seek me out to talk about what's up. So that feels huge.
That's huge. That, because most adolescents at that age are like peeling away, right, from the parents and rejecting the constructs that the parents are offering. And it's cool to hear that they're coming toward you, especially about relationships.
Yeah, it feels really cool. I feel more like I'm in a side-by-side place with them. Yeah.
And then why did you transfer you finished Deeper and it was, really great for you.
Yeah.
Why continue? Because you didn't have it in your mind, like when you were 15, you were like, I'm going to be a relationship coach. That wasn't on your radar as much, right? So what happened?
No, well, so for 25 years, I've been in the healing space. I started in more traditional physical therapy, occupational therapy, and I moved through as I grew and grew up into yoga therapy and body work. And my trajectory for 25 years has just been on this like healing transformation. I feel like with yoga instruction, it was the same thing. Like I learned the tool, I learned the skill. It works so well for me that my personal model is to then go out and teach it.
Uh-huh.
I've done it with yoga. I've done it with mountain biking. And now I'm doing it in the relationship world. It's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. It's how I roll.
Yeah. Cool. I like hearing you own that more and more. Nice. Thanks, Leah. Steve, what about you, man?
Wow. I was just tracking, it's been a long ride with you, Jay. Going back to, started getting difficult in my marriage around maybe 2010 and kind of escalating to like 2014 with counseling that I didn't have the language for at the time, but it just wasn't working. But I didn't know what about it wasn't working. And then I started going on my own and trying to figure it out. I was looking at things like Myers-Briggs, different kind of tools like that, because it's where I was. Then I heard you on another podcast, and your voice just like stuck with me. And I continued on and later circled back. I started listening to the Smart Couple podcast. You were talking about the rap course. And then I got the call to like jump in and take a taste and get into rap. Went through that and I was like, this is what I've been missing. Like it was just like a dead on target of like what I've been looking for. I can't believe this dude. What is that guy doing? What is with this guy, Jason Gaddis? It was astonishing.
Yeah, what is with this guy?
Yeah, I was like, what is with this dude? It was like, it freaked me out because I was like, what's happening?
Uh-huh.
So I go through rap and you were talking about launching, Deeper, the class that nobody got. I was like, this guy is so on point, man. It's freaking me out. So I decided to join Deeper, got into Deeper, and you made the call for, hey, I feel like I have the capacity to have a few more coaches in my first training here. And I jumped on board for that. And that's where things got really challenging in my marriage. My ex filed for divorce, and then I continued to navigate Deeper in RC1 in that first year. So I graduated Deeper, but I did not have the capacity to take on what needed to be taken on for RC1, which was extraordinary. Even that, the connection that I got with my kids and myself in that first year was like, it was an insane challenge I set myself up for. And I'm grateful that I failed in that way. That's a magnificent failure.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, as your life, I remember, right, your life is kind of falling apart, right? You're not fulfilled in your job. Your marriage is tanking. You're headed toward divorce. And yet out of the ashes, it seems like this relationship work and like in the connection with your kids, like something started to be born there or happen for you that was like, holy shit.
Yeah. The more that I'm looking back at it, I'm seeing like what I ended up doing. My story is that I stuck with what mattered to me most, and everything else just started falling away. And that was really hard times to go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I took like 2 years, and then I came back for RC1 and did it back a second time, and here I am.
Damn. Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of a job. I was like, nope, done officially. Like I squirreled away all the resources that I needed to do. I let go of things that truly did not matter. And I just continued to focus on what matters to me most and let everything go. And I'm just like full blown force putting everything that I've got at this. Cause there's not like nothing else is true for me. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys all have that commitment, right? And it's so huge because you get the power of this part of our life being so central to a well-lived life and to, you know, and now you're living this life of service. I mean, you all were in a way before, but even more so now directly helping other people with what, you know, I think is probably the most important area of our life is relationship, because it's, you know, you can be financially tanking and, completely out of shape or whatever, and your life can be falling apart. But if you have people by your side, you know, and yourself, if you have yourself, it's like enormous versus people who don't have themselves and they feel isolated and alone. So, yeah, thanks for reminding me of your journey there. It's huge. Yeah. Why did you guys choose, let's back up to the DPIR course. So just for the listener, remember DPIR stands for Deep Psychology of Intimate Relationships. That's our 9-month, 2-semester class that you should have gotten in school that we teach twice a year here in Boulder and virtually. So why that over counseling and therapy? I mean, a couple of you guys kind of alluded to that, but like there's lots of other options out there. Why this?
Ooh, I want to jump in here. What DPIR provided me that what I was not getting in counseling was accountability. Counseling to me felt like it was sort of meandered, like a soup du jour, like what's up with you today? It didn't have direction. There wasn't containment. And there didn't seem to be a way where I could measure my results and see where I was at. So I felt like I was working, but I didn't know what I was getting or how it was going. Mm-hmm. I kept making these analogies to myself about if I were hiring a physical trainer, I could go in and have a consult and I could say like, well, you know, I want to work on my endurance or strength or flexibility, or I would have a goal in mind. And then that trainer could help me, could teach me what I didn't know to get me what I needed to get so I could get those results. And then ultimately be able to go out on my own and do that stuff. And I wouldn't necessarily need to be with a trainer for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
For me, DPIR was that piece that I was dissatisfied in counseling that I couldn't name.
Got it. And you were somehow, through the marketing, you were somehow able to tease the difference out, because I was saying, hey, this is like regular practice. It's accountability. There's a result that's going to happen.
Yeah, I would say like the big thing for me is like hearing you and hearing your message to me was like, for me, it was mirroring a lot of the growth that I experienced while I was in the Marines, going through boot camp and just seeing myself go up against challenges that I assumed that I couldn't do. Like I didn't realize how limited my sense of self was until someone put me up to a challenge and believed in me to a level that I couldn't even have imagined. Mm-hmm. And then just continually seeing that ceiling going up and up and up and up and up. I mean, when I was in high school, I was 125 pounds. And I was kind of into like comic books and stuff. And I came out of the Marines and I was 185 pounds. And I'd say that on some level it was the same thing relationally. Like I didn't realize where I was at relationally. It was kind of anxious and sort of, you know, tinny. And then going through DPIR and RC1, I'm like, yeah, I found my base.
Yeah. Killer. Huge. What about you other two? And feel free to respond here in whatever way you want to Steve, but just curious about your journey. Well, like why DPIR over counseling?
Yeah. Well, what came up for me was one experience. So when we went to the Embracing Conflict weekend, we actually got into a conflict before it even started the night before. And so we rolled into it with all this energy. And Jason, I think one of the first things you taught was LUFU, like the skill to feel understood. And so I ended up practicing that with Jenny, and she just lit up with excitement as I was like going through it. And I was like, so you're saying that you felt this way because I did this, and that makes sense. And she was just like, yes, exactly.
Finally.
Yeah. And it was like, we had been getting to these stuck points where I just didn't know what to do. And it was like we had a key. We had one solid tool. And I was like, well, if Deeper is going to expand on that and I'm going to learn more of that, then I'm all for that.
Yeah.
So
and so's my partner. She's all for that too.
Yeah, she's all for it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. But why not like just counseling? Because your wife's a therapist. It's like, hey, let's just go see a therapist.
I had done some therapy, and I'm more interested in challenge. I'm like naturally a challenger myself, and I like being pushed. So I think that Deeper and relationship coaching, the way you teach it at least, is a good balance between support and challenge. And so that's what drew me to this type of work.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
Yeah, for me, I was already sold on your view of relationship. So I had already kind of like bought the message. And I'm not, as I think back, it wasn't like the marketing was telling me how this was different than therapy. I don't think that was part of my journey at all. It was more, what appealed to me was the student aspect, because I'm a teacher and I'm a student and I just had that mindset. So this idea that I was going to school to learn these skills was like, yes, totally. I'm down for that. And then just to echo what these guys have said about therapy a little bit, like I've been in and out of therapy and different kinds of therapy. And I think I felt like I was always relying outside of myself versus figuring out what was true for me. And kind of being in this eddy of therapy. Like I'd feel good for a little while after the session. Like maybe I was heard, maybe I was validated, maybe I was normalized, but I wasn't really getting the challenge and accountability. And I wasn't expecting Deeper to be what it was. Like I thought, oh, I'm just going to go figure out how to like keep my boyfriend. Yeah. Is totally not what happened.
What did you get instead?
Oh, I'm a relationship coach now. Yeah, no, I got so much more. I got a different relationship with myself.
Yeah, that seems to be the big one for people. Wow. Okay. It's inspiring to hear. Let's, I got a couple more questions about how you got here. So if we rewind way back, like being a relationship coach requires a special kind of person, I think. What do you imagine is the pre-qualification to become a relationship coach that is just in you, that no one can teach, that goes back to your being a kid, perhaps, or you're way back? Like what is it that you have, right, that's natural, that then we just take and make more awesome?
I'll go. I have a deep awareness of my need for connection.
Yeah, and that came from what?
From my childhood, for as long as I can remember. It came from maybe feeling not connected or understood as a kid. And always having this longing to be mirrored, to be seen, connect that way.
Yeah. Right. So out of a family where connection wasn't a high priority, you had this hunger for connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And did that play out, Leah, in your, grade school, middle school, high school? Were you that, like, describe yourself as that little girl? Like, what was she like?
Pretty insecurely attached to my friends. Like I would love a friend and then I could be really needy or insecure, or like my best friend that I've had since fourth grade would say, oh, I would just tell her how pretty she was, trying to kind of find a way in and really not being skilled at figuring out or knowing how to ask for what I needed or what I wanted. Yeah. So kind of failed friendships, feeling left out, feeling really sensitive. That just carried over into my adult life.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I just love hearing people's kind of the arc of their life, just little snippets, because it helps me get why you specifically are such a great relationship coach, right? Because there's that drive's always been there, and it came from kind of the challenges around your childhood. Cool. What about you guys?
Yeah, what's coming up for me is I think growing up, I was a daddy's boy, and he really taught me how to take care of myself. And so I think even though that has held me back in some ways, being an avoidant person in relationship, it also allows me to hold my own ground in being with other people, and not get too wound up in their business. So I think that's kind of a double-edged sword for me.
Mm-hmm. And describe what kind of daddy's boy, or like your father sort of, I'm imagining, kind of shepherding you along in a certain kind of way. What sort of downloads did you get, Bryce, about relationship when you were growing up, just by watching them and other people?
Well, my dad was really respectful of my mom, so I think that came with the territory. I've always been really respectful in relationship. But then there was also not really an acknowledgement of my sensitivity. I think I was a really sensitive kid. And so when things were coming up for me, in order to deal with that sensitivity, if I didn't have a place to go with it, I'd go outside. I'd play by myself, or throw the football or whatever. So I think that led to this really adventurous side in me, and this really independent side where I don't feel like when I came into a relationship, I really needed Jenny. Like, I need you to be here, but I was able to like stand with her, and she's also very independent. And then we were able to move forward together. So to answer your question.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you say, your sensitivity, say something about that, is that something you utilize as a relationship coach, or is that something you're kind of like keep at bay, or what?
Totally. And I'm still just waking up to this, because I see how I probably got this from my mom, and it just wasn't really acknowledged. And I think being a daddy's boy, it got suppressed, and playing sports and just being kind of like doing all the badass stuff I could. And then now I'm waking up to like, man, I do have emotional needs and just general needs. And I do have the ability to read people. So yeah, I think that's this enormous skill that's just now waking up in me in doing relationship coaching. That wasn't there when I was just doing general coaching. Right.
And would you say in our coaching program, you got people reflected back your kind of emotion sensitivity sort of, did that wake up even more?
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide in your course. I mean, I think that if anyone could, it'd probably be me, but there's all the feedback that happens, and all the in-person work, and just all the inner work that has to happen, all the reflecting that's done. That has really helped expedite this process of me showing up authentically.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, just how cool it is, right? For little boys like you and I, we got kind of, don't be too emotional, go play sports and achieve and accomplish, because that's how you get love. And then later on to reclaim that part of ourselves, right? That's been a huge part of my journey. And I see that happening with you, is slowly reclaiming your sensitivity, because it's an asset as a relationship coach, and reading people. And you're very good at that, right? Yeah. 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 And it's super tough in this society. I'm like seeing it more and more, how I see other men that hold back, and I want to help, that's be part of the work. Yeah. Amen. Nice. Thanks, Bryce. Steve?
Well, I'm loving these stories. I'm struck by like my journey of being in my family, feeling like intimacy and emotional intelligence wasn't available for where my family was growing up. Wow. That's hitting me really hard. And just feeling something in me, just feeling like there was just so much more available. Just getting it, like watching my parents were divorced. My dad lived in Michigan, and we'd spend the summer. So it was like a 5-hour trip back and forth. And then just kind of witnessing both of my parents struggle and hearing both of their stories and not making sense of either one of them. And then being stuck in the middle of trying to weave those two things together, but not, just feeling like somehow, feeling like all of this was a huge distraction to what was really important, and like, I'm just kind of really understanding what that story is for me about what have I actually been chasing after? Like, why did I join the Marines? It feels like that's a big overcompensation, and then kind of going to being a creative director, and then watching like me be in a marriage and it working out really well for about 7 years, and then watch it fall apart for like about 7 years, and end up in relationship coaching. And then I'm just like watching these pieces of me like really weave together, and just say like, the one thread is like that the thing that matters most to me is connecting with other human beings in a way that just feels clean and good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like really to like know another human being in this lifetime feels like it's a lot just to realize like where I've come from and watch my family's challenges with that. And just to realize I've done it and I'm in the middle of my life. It feels like an astounding accomplishment for a single lifetime to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sweet, man. Yeah. I mean, I almost get that you were like starving for connection, right? Most of your life.
Yeah. And for a while, I definitely like, there was a lot of blame and anger for me, but there was also a part of me that there was something about me that had compassion for. Somehow I understood what was happening was circumstantial.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been able to place that then, but now like I look back and I go, man, my grandparents, like they did so much for me. And this was like the one piece that was like, to me, this is like the piece that I get to put on the mantle and go like, and I brought this piece in and I get to hand that to my kids. It's really tough to hold that. Like the amount of gratitude that I have is just astounding. Like I'm floored every time it comes in. I'm like, man, that's a huge chunk. So huge.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of what you've done for your kids alone, dude, just, it's enormous. And, wow, what a model, you know?
Yeah.
I just think of how they've transformed just by being around you the last few years.
And as a father, just to like the confidence that I feel, because I'm like, the amount of training that I've done, the amount of dedication, the amount of energy and the investment that I've put in is like, I know that I don't get it right all the time, but I know what to do when I don't. And I can tell when I'm bailing on it. Like I can tell when it's like, dude, you're tanking right now.
Right. Yeah. That's so big. I mean, wow. I'm just getting chills here listening to you guys. And just so for the listener, we don't, these other guys are muted, but there's sometimes laughs and oohs and ahs coming on. You just can't hear them. So feel free to unmute yourself if you want to include that, guys. I'm just trying to eliminate background noise for context there. So, yeah, I mean, parents that are listening, particularly to Steve and Leah here, it's fascinating to me that so many parents feel ashamed about how they're showing up, right? Kind of secretly ashamed, like putting on the happy face. Yeah, everything's fine. And then at home, they're like, I can't believe my kids treat me this way, or I can't believe I treat my kids this way, or holy shit, I'm not going to tell anybody about this, because there's so much shame, right? And so I get it, parents, because sometimes how we behave as parents is intense, and how our kids behave, it's like, whoa. And it's just not enough to go read a Love and Logic book and think that you're going to fix your fucking parenting skills. These guys have like gone all in on this part of their life and said, I'm going to change. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be more of who I am. And I'm going to have my own back so that my kids have a model for that. And I've seen you guys do that. It's huge.
You can't get that off the shelf, man.
No.
There's no book that can give that.
Agreed. Yeah, so cool. So kind of a common theme here again is I'm seeing how your childhood set the stage really for you to become a relationship coach. And that's certainly one of the things we keep examining in the program is how beneficial that is. So we can stop hating our parents, for example, and appreciate their limitations because look at what it gave us, right? My parents' relational ineptitude gave me the deep desire to understand people and to figure this part of my life out. And here I am, doing what I love thanks to them. And I don't have like, fuck you guys for doing that, mom and dad. It's like, thank you for dropping the ball there, or in my values. They didn't drop the ball at all in their values. Because that's what we do is we expect our parents, for example, to live according to our fantasy of who we thought they should be. And then we suffer a lot. You've heard me talk about that. Okay. Now you're relationship coaches. And what would you say, just say something a little bit about how you're new at this. In some ways, you've been doing it your whole life, helping people. But now that you have a container around it and language and a frame, and you're like, okay, this is serious business. How would you say you guys orient towards helping people now?
I would say for me, it's really understanding now how to show up authentically and reflect what I'm seeing and also see what they may might be reflecting to me. So to really get into an intimate relationship with clients in a way that we can really see things, that's much different from the old way of doing things for me.
Yeah.
And then I think everything that I've learned in deeper, like I actually have knowledge now about relationships and attachment styles and communication skills and how to see how things are popping up in relationships, and being able to name that and have language for that and teach people language for that. Way more. I didn't think I had any of that when I started.
Yeah. Solid.
And Jason, I want to understand the question more.
Yep.
How do we orient around?
Yeah. How do you, there's a lot of helpers in the world who are enabling people, rescuing people, just sitting on their ass, listening to people vent about their poor me story. So what's different here in you? How do you help people now?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I would say I notice I don't collude or join someone in their story. That's a big one for me that in my experience has been prevalent in the culture. Just like, oh yeah, that sucks, or oh yeah, he's a jerk, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen. And I think knowing what is my responsibility and what their responsibility is, I think has also shifted. And I'm kind of thinking of like my friends and in my relationships and my clients, because I was already coaching my friends and
Yeah.
I just didn't know it, and my parents.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm less about holding my way or giving my opinion, and I'm much more about helping people see what they're saying to me. Oh, whoa, do you realize, do you know you do that, is something I'll say. Or, hey, do you notice this about yourself? And that really, I've seen shift relationships, because I'm not putting my opinion on them. I'm just like, hey, did you know, here's what I just heard you say.
Uh-huh.
So I think the reflecting back is huge. I think this view of taking responsibility for our lives, that's been huge for me. And I transmute that. And again, just like not joining in people's stories, just keeping a boundary there.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean their stories are wrong, right? Or bad or something.
Not at all.
So can you say what you mean by that, just so we're clear?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inviting people to check out their stories. I'm even naming that they have a story about something, right? When a client might say, oh, well, all men are like that. I'm not disagreeing with them. I just said, well, let's check that out. Is it true that all men are like that? I know some men that aren't like that. I'm helping them unpack, hear themselves, and then investigate more. So that's what I mean about their stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not just kind of going along with everything they say, like we're on a coffee date and you're just listening going, Yeah. And then the coffee date's over and you're kind of drained.
Yeah. It's super hard to be in relationship with me now, though. Because I just don't let anything go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the pros and perhaps a con of studying with me right here.
Knowing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that makes it easier for me to be in relationship with you, Leah, because I know that up front.
Yep.
Up front that I'm going to just drill in. What do you mean by that?
Well, I know you're going to be authentic and say what's on your mind. So there's like a relaxing in that.
Cool.
For me. Yeah.
Thanks, Bryce.
I don't have to guess.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I trust you, Leah, because I know if something is coming out sideways for me, I know you're going to help me get a grip on that. And that's one of the things I love about you.
Aw, bros. I love you guys. Big virtual hug with my brothers.
Yeah. For context, these three spent the last 9 months together in this training, along with 12 other people or so.
Yeah.
11 other people, and just graduated. So you all just graduated in May. Nice. Steve, what about you?
Yeah, where, I'm recognizing my journey has kind of been integrating. Like as a young boy, I started out very sensitive, crying. And then, the men in my life shamed that for me, or I felt shame around the men in my life where that, I didn't shut it down though. And, it was like I found that I could share it with females, with women, but there was something about it that wasn't getting developed well. Something was kind of off there. And then I overcompensated with the Marines and kind of my air tendencies moved towards being assertive and aggressive. And I think that's like why, your model of coaching just to me is so powerful, because it really is like, there is a badassery in like just really having sensitivity for the nuances of things, really just understanding internally what's actually going on and being able to really map that territory for myself and be able to recognize that in a human being, but then also have, hold the other side of it, that there is really so much more. And that really does take a challenge to come in and then just have a lot of agility. Like I see that I've really developed a lot of agility to kind of move from like sensitivity to challenge and really begin to own that in such a big way, where I feel like I have so much more agility around it now, that I just have more range, more flexibility. I feel more limber as a human being, just to be with somebody and like get like where they're at right now. And just like there's something beautiful that's actually happening in every single moment that's going on if you're really paying attention. And that's not always possible in every moment. That's okay. It's my story that every moment really is something beautiful is happening if you're able to be with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that word, limber. I'm thinking of you, remembering you when you first came in, you were a little stiff.
Perhaps brittle, maybe even would apply there, depending on the angle of view.
Yeah. So imagine again, I imagine your kids being with kind of a stiff dad or what was the word you used? Brittle?
Brittle.
A brittle dad.
I'm
right?
just like, yeah.
Life's falling apart, and somehow he has the courage, capacity to dig deep and now become limber in the face of challenge too. And so it's going to be something you're good at helping other people with, right?
Yeah, even in that brittleness where it was like, man, I'm just, something in me was aware that this was not how it needed to be. It was just like frustrating that as hard as I feel like I was stuck underneath all of that, and was like, just all of this was on top of me, and I just couldn't maneuver whatever this was that was on top, this shielding, this armor, or whatever this was that was, the brittleness wasn't me, it was outside of me. Not outside of me, but it was just, it's a piece. Sure. It was like, there's just too fused. It was like, how do I allow myself to open so that I can experience this space? And I just kept going after it.
Yeah. How you do it. Nice. Again, it's really cool to see the development here in all of you, and the ways in which you're helping people and upgrading your helping skills, right? To change the planet, to help your community, your neighborhood, your town, your family. Super inspiring. All right. A couple more questions. I'm curious, you guys went through this 9-month training together, and Steve, you had, another year with other people. And then Leah, you had another year with other folks. Bryce smashed them into one. And I'm curious, with the three of you, just right here, there was a little bit of that interaction right there where I could tell that you had been through something together. So will you guys speak to the community vibe of what just happened with you three and your cohort that went through? Will you just, your own experience, like what was that like? And you can talk to each other or me or whatever.
It's like such a big question. I'm going back to just a month ago when we were all together, and just tearing up multiple times, just looking around at everyone. I haven't been in this type of relationship with people ever in my life. I can say that for a fact. And like what I was telling Leah, like showing up authentically and seeing her do that, and how I've been able to show up, whether it's mad, sad, embarrassed, nervous, whatever, just being able to be me in front of people has been so healing. And I feel so connected to this group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something about the RC1 training, and like, I think, Bryce, when I hear you talk about that, it feels like the vulnerability for me in the, like, gosh, the video review in and of itself. I mean, that is just like, holy shit. When you say there's nowhere to hide, I mean, there is nowhere to hide, because like, here I am thinking I'm going to be critiqued on my coaching. Well, I mean, that's one piece. I wasn't expecting the whole like, okay, let's pause here. Well, Leah, why didn't you ask about this? What's up in your life with your sex life or this or that? It's like, fuck, man. I thought I was just checking the boxes off. But, and so to go through that and then have you guys be witnessing all that, I mean, it's super bonding. You've seen me extremely vulnerable and exposed, and you're still here. So it's pretty powerful.
The courage I experienced in this group with you guys, with just, it's fantastic. Like bringing up video reviews and being on display. Like for me, I thought that I was like, this is a piece of cake. I've been in design school, it was an immersive program. I got to put up my work on the wall. I'm getting crits all the time. Like, this is going to be nothing. I was like, there's no way. There's no comparison. That's insane. Being on display like that and just really having 14 sets of eyes and everyone really having the best intention for like wanting me to see whatever it is that I'm missing right now. Just being in that heat and having how many trusted people did we have in that group with like supervisors, mentors, the group of us, like just
sometimes 20.
Yeah, it was huge. Like that kind of feedback, I haven't seen an environment replicated like that anywhere else in my life.
And yeah, I thought for me too, not just the peer video feedback or from our teachers, but like even the experience of seeing myself on video, that was huge. Just really confronting. Like, why do I make all those faces? Why do I look like that? What's wrong with me? You know?
Is that what my voice really sounds like?
Yeah. Like, why did you guys tell me I was so annoying? And then I think like I go through 9 months and I like myself so much better. I can totally handle watching myself on video for an hour. Yeah.
Let's see how you feel with this episode.
Yeah. I think another thing that sticks out to me is just hearing that other people struggled in the same way. Like I struggled a long time and just went off on my own and thought that I was just kind of weird and like just was no good at relationships. And to hear like, oh, everyone has their own struggles and like I'm not alone. That was the biggest thing is the more I felt seen and the more I was seeing people, the more I felt not alone. And that was a feeling I think I was missing a lot of my life. I just didn't know where to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I loved what you said, Leah, about you're still here, right? You guys, people might judge me or critique me in my video, or I might have made a big mistake that was kind of embarrassing in front of a group, and no one went away. You know, they're still here. Just like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like I'm here. So there's something I'm getting about the container here and the environment about really feeling accepted as you are. And it's very uncomfortable because we'd rather put on our one face when we go out in the world and kind of hide the uncomfortable stuff. And this is a real, pressure cooker in terms of, can you be this way in your own home? Because a lot of people are hiding out in their own home, which you'll find as you keep working with clients, right? And you found that already. So yeah, I just, again, your willingness to be on the ride together and be in the fire and show yourselves and learn and humble yourselves and be coachable. It's really awesome for me just to witness.
Jason, as you say that, something's coming up. It's like we learn the skills in deeper and we're practicing them as a community for sure. But I feel like in RC1, just hearing you talk about the community and the container, it's like the first time in my life where I'm actually been given feedback in a way that has this framework that I understand where it's coming from. So it's like this RC1 was like a deeper application of the tools.
Yeah.
Like really freaking living it in that community.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Nice, everybody. Well, I'm aware of the time, so we got to wrap up. Sadly, I just really love hearing your stories and connecting with you guys right now. It feels great. Yeah. will you say a little bit about, so you're all relationship coaches now, you're all certified level 1 relationship coaches. You're part of our professional network. You're, I think, going on to study a level 2 training here with us. What, give us just a little bit about your coaching practice, what kind of clients you want to work with, and what your website is, or where people can contact you. That would be great.
Sure, I'll jump in. So I actually do a lot of work with my wife now, which is really cool. So our website is theadvancedrelationshipacademy.com. And we work together with couples or single people who are in a relationship and their partner doesn't want to step up, or single people that are looking to get into a relationship. So we have a few different programs that we offer. But yeah, we can come from both angles, the male and the female perspective.
Nice.
Cool. I'm coaching individuals right now this summer as I prepare for my next level of learning to work with couples. You can find me at newtrailsrelationshipcoaching.com. And if you live locally, let's hit the trails. And if you're far away, we can do it virtually. Yeah, totally stoked to share everything I've learned.
Great. Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, right now I'm working with individuals as I prepare to learn how to work with couples coming up in the fall. My website's up at themethodofmodernlove.com. And I feel like my expertise right now is anybody who's not sure how to do relationship, or maybe actually like in the heat of seeing the relationship kind of fall down around them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's what I've walked through myself. And I feel like I didn't really have anybody to hold me in that for myself in a way that felt supportive for me, that would really work. So I feel like I have a unique perspective to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everybody. So we'll put those links in the show notes so you can find Leah, Bryce, and Steve there. And remember, this group of people has been through it, not only in this training and what we do here at the relationship school, but in their lives, right? Which is what's cool about coaching. In my former therapy life, it was like I got to hide kind of behind hidden identity. And what we're promoting here at the relationship school is a style of coaching where the coaches are being themselves. Now, they're not going to give you advice like, oh, well, when I was getting a divorce, this is what I did. You should do that. Steve's not going to do that because that's what your friends do. That's bullshit. It's not helping you. But walking through the fire with someone who's been there before, or been through intense experiences in their life, or has had a challenging childhood, or overcome some hurdles. These 3 warriors are living examples of the kind of people that you want to get help from. All right. We've talked about bad coaching, good coaching. Obviously here we're talking about good coaching because these people are training intensely. They're never going to stop training, most likely. And they can help you. So check them out. All right. Thanks, you 3. Great to be with you.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Leah. Thanks, Bryce. Great to see you guys.
Thanks, you guys. I miss you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Relationship School fans and Smart Couple listeners, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, all right? Do us a favor, subscribe, share one of these videos with a friend, all right? We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.